Hey there, YouTube. It's American Time Machine here, bringing you another video concerning Yu-Gi-Oh! One thing I want to talk about concerning Yu-Gi-Oh! Today is the fact that there's one particular playstyle that a lot of players think have ruined the meta over the past 5 years. Now, I'm making this video for those that might be new to the game, for those that don't have a full understanding of what it's been like to play Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the past 5 years. And so I want to speak on basically behalf of the entire Yu-Gi-Oh! Community when I talk about one specific archetype. Now, if you're not familiar with archetypes in Yu-Gi-Oh!, these are basically a few different cards that were all designed to follow the same theme. And so, for example, right now we have decks like Floowandereeze, which are all migratory birds, and we have Snake Eyes, and these are all fire monsters that, okay, I don't know exactly what fire these are actually based off of. They just look kind of cool, and they have either one eyes or two eyes, or that's the theme. They have eyes. So, anyway, one deck in particular that has had a lot of negative attention over the past 5 years is the archetype known as hand traps. Now, hand traps got their start a few years ago, and they've been seeing very consistent tops ever since they were released. Hand traps are so powerful that Konami keeps releasing core strategies that are built around these hand traps. And so basically, Konami is betting on the fact that the player base is so inept and so bad with money that they will buy whatever support cards they release for hand traps in the upcoming sets. Right now, Snake Eyes is the most powerful support engine for hand traps. And so we get into what hand traps are consisting of. We see that players are playing 18 one-card starters. Yes, these are all one-card starters that basically prevent your opponent from playing the game. And so Konami has taken this strategy of having 18 different cards that disallow any sort of Yu-Gi-Oh! To occur, and then just filling in everything else in the deck with things that can beat over your opponent for a game, just to support everything else that stops your opponent from playing. Now, obviously, this renders Yu-Gi-Oh! To sort of a game of Go Fish. You can take the top 5 of these cards, we'll say Ash Blossom, Droll and Lockbird, Imperm, Veiler, and we'll say Nibiru, and pretty much play Go Fish. Assign a number 1 through 5. If you draw any combination of numbers 1 through 5, you're probably going to win the game. Now, obviously, this isn't very exciting for a lot of players, and we can see, for example, that the card game online should be probably the most popular and accessible game. It only has about 20,000 active players. And so if you only have 20,000 active players in what should be a heavy nostalgia bait card game, you can understand why that probably doesn't seem like it's extremely powerful in the long run. So, Konami, obviously, we get into these fallacy of, like, we think Konami has done it for 20 years, and we think, well, if they've done it for 20 years, they'll probably always be able to do it, which just isn't a very sound argument. Right now, the player base seems to be relatively low, and it's been dropping off for a while. And so, yeah, that's kind of what capitalism does in general. It gives you this idea of everything's fine until it isn't fine. So I think the player base right now is really worried about when this game will finally go under. Now, what Konami could do to get the player to expand its player base is to bring some diversity to the format. We've been kind of in a never-ending format that has lasted for 5 years, total, and it's just kind of ridiculous that hand traps have been the tier 0 meta strategy for such a long time. Now, what they could do is, well, they could release they have a ban list. They have a ban list, and there's nothing that can't be solved with that ban list. And I think that's where people don't realize there's so many cards on the ban list right now, but Konami has been just milking money out of the player base, betting on they're going to be stupid enough to buy the support sets for hand traps, that they keep hand traps in the game. But if Konami hears us, I think in the long run, you would be better off. You could sell a lot more if you would just ban these hand traps and get creative with bringing in new archetypes that can actually be the new tier 1 or 2 tier strategies. Because right now, Yeah, the never-ending format of hand traps has been around for 5 years, being the Tier 0 format. So restructure your game so you're not constantly releasing sets that are supporting this style of hand traps. Now, don't get me wrong, maybe in the future you can come back and do like a legacy format where you reintroduce the most powerful set that was called hand traps. But then again, there was the OCG format. The OCG format that was Tier 0, I guess the first generation or Generation 0 format was Exodia. But nobody wanted to play that game because obviously drawing Exodia every single time was just extremely boring. And Konami does have this strategy of they want to basically nerf the support cards for hand traps as soon as possible so they can release a new expensive set that players buy. And that makes them a lot of short-term money, but that's probably not very good for their long-term bottom line, because in order to increase the long-term bottom line, you want something that's increases your player base. And so far, there were some booms over the past 5 years of fair formats, but again, unless you can put on paper that you're increasing your player base, which does not seem to be the case, you are not going to have a great long-term outlook for your game. So really, it's not a matter of if the game will go under, it's when the game will go under. So I hope this has been a very informative video of how Tier 0 hand traps have been impacting the game negatively for a lot of people. And for the game, and has been lowering the ceiling and earnings potential of Konami in general. That's all I got for today, guys. I hope if you enjoyed this video, you check out American Time Machine Music. I'm sure that if you do not play this game and this is your first video watching anything Yu-Gi-Oh related, that you do not play this game, because, well, I mean, it's up to you, but if you think playing Go Fish with different names assigned to, you know, those cards in Go Fish, I don't think you're gonna have a very good time. Well, you might have a good time. Yeah, I guess you might have a good time, because you might have a good time because you're easily entertained. So if you're easily entertained by Go Fish, you're going to have a good time with Yu-Gi-Oh! But it doesn't seem like most people are easily entertained with Go Fish, therefore they do not play Yu-Gi-Oh! Alright, that's all I got for today, guys. Have a great one.